open it to Luke, and as you're opening to that, I want to ask you, how many of you would rather be here today than on the ski slopes, riding the chairlift up the slope with a cable that's about ready to break? It's unanimous. Okay. Jesus' birth was astonishing to Mary, astounding to the people as they saw the events occurring with Zechariah and Elizabeth, and now it's amazing, amazing as we meet the shepherds. So it's Luke chapter 2 is where we are, and we're going to look at two sets of these verses, verses 1 through 7 first of all, and then 8 through 14. So we're going to read these. Jesus' birth was amazing, and all the events that surround his birth point to amazing. And let me read the first 7 verses. In those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration when Quirinius was governor of Syria. And all went to be registered, each to his own town. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling cloths, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. An amazing set of circumstances. Ones that you would probably not want to be in. I mean, the trauma at times of childbirth, never mind the first child, right, is sometimes enough. But to travel, to be away from home, to be in an unknown land with unknown people, right? This is a really traumatic thing. So it's amazing that God has intervened in the way that he has. We're going to talk about some very, very important things. Now, we have given you in your worship folder a place to kind of follow along, because we flash these things up on the screen and then give you an opportunity to fill in the blanks that we have here. Okay, the first thing we want to talk about is God's amazing, listen to this, God's amazing invasion. Invasion. Because as it says in these verses, verse 5 in particular, they were to be registered, and it was with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. So here's the three: Joseph, Mary, and then the child that's about to come. And what we're seeing here in this amazing invasion of God into this world is human activity colliding with a God attack. Verses 1 through 5. Attacks, folks, get attention. Right? They get attention. Humanity was going along, and suddenly God invades the world. And he uses circumstances such as the human government. Sometimes God uses circumstances such as a human government mandate. You notice it says a decree went out. Amazing requirement here by the government. So in verses 1 through 4 we see Joseph, who was in Nazareth. Micah said, by the way, that the birth had to be where? In Bethlehem. But he's not in Bethlehem. But suddenly this mandate comes. The mandate from the human authority got Joseph, Mary, and the coming baby into Bethlehem. Verse 4. The hand of the Lord was at work, even using, and slap yourself in the face, a corrupt human government. So not only was there this human government mandate, there's this holy event occurring. To be registered with Mary, who's with child. And so what we're seeing here is an amazing recorded fact of history. Right? Mm-hmm. To be registered means to be written down. Verse 5. And I hope you're seeing the essentials here. Being registered meant to be recorded, written down, and the fact of Jesus' birth then is undeniable. Right? Is it a coincidence? Remember, when God invades humanity, it's an attack to be noticed. God comes in and mighty things happen. Holiness is breaking into humanness. It's a God-style collision. And as Emerald would say, bam! So human activity collides with a God attack. Notice, though, that human activity also crashes into a God assault in verses 6 and 7. Assaults get attention as well. Human birth was not new, but never was there a child like this. The time came for her to give birth. An amazing child. Verse 6 indicates to us, as we have read through these verses, that we're talking about a holy child. No birth before this event or since has produced a holy child from God. Isaiah 7:14 talks about the virgin in a predictive way. And of course, as you know, it talks about the virgin bringing forth a child. This is the predicted from the Old Testament prophets and also the New Testament visiting angels of a holy Redeemer Messiah. And that's absolutely amazing. Like God putting on skin, right? And that's why it's a God assault crashing into humanity. Not only was there never a child like this, there was never a birth like this. Verse 7, she gave birth. The child was in swaddling clothes, laid him in a manger, because there's no place in an inn. In the inn. An amazing birth. So you have the holy child, but you also have the holy birth. She gave birth to her firstborn son, wrapped him in swaddling clothes, laid him in a manger, because there's no room in the inn. You know the story, and this is what makes it all so miraculous. When we say that there was an attack and assault on humanity from the holy, we're pointing to the spiritual and the supernatural aspects of the newborn Savior Messiah. So here's holy God crashing in on humankind. The King of the universe, folks, is lying in a feed trough. Right? He's in an animal house, along with all the smells that come with it. And notice, this baby is royalty. Never before or since was a royal king brought into the world in this way. Royalty collides with humanity or humility. And the bright star in the sky shines on the King of Kings in an animal house lying in a feed trough. Do you get that? The shining star overhead emphasizes royalty, while the animal house emphasizes humility. This is Jesus. This is Jesus. Never was there a birth like this. So we talk about a holy child, a holy birth. This is also a human birth. Because we want you to see this in verse 7. It speaks of the human aspect of Jesus' entrance into this world. A birth, a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes. But then, laid in a manger, and no room in an inn. What gives? God was announcing to the world that this is the most unique, glorious, spectacular, talked about, dynamic, superb, must I go on? Birth ever in history. It's an amazing story. And that's why we say hope is born. It's a miraculous story. That's Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. God's amazing invasion. Very good. I think we'll go to the next one. And we'll look at the next. And this is in verse